Beard was out of control in some of those pictures. What's good, man?
Oh, not too much. Just having that, post 3-day weekend hangover.
Yes, 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 for sure. You know, it is. It's especially this time of the year, right? You have the holiday here with Memorial Day and kind of signaling the kickoff of school being out, summer starting, or school about to be out, and weather's been nice. So it's like, everybody's kind of just, wanting to get out, but
Yeah.
being able to stay plugged back in. And I know there's a lot of interesting things kind of going on. And, today with today's growth call, really just kind of ask us anything, right? Type of questions that have come in over the month, and really being able to dive in and unpack. And so I want to kick things off with you, John, and how you guys are navigating a couple of things within the marketplace, primarily since your business was really built off of the foundation of internet leads, right?
Yeah.
And so, as we know, with the buyers and working with buyers, and the changes with NAR and uh, DOJ and all the things that are changing and gonna happen in probably here in the third quarter, early fourth quarter, depends upon what they delay and push and temporary, and what becomes how they want business to be done. How are you guys handling it? How are you, training all of the agents? How are you looking to maintain some consistency, especially when it comes down to being able to articulate your value and why and how to be able to have buyers work with you?
I mean, it's a great question. I think one, obviously, our team is big with Zillow Flex, right? And Zillow came out with their own, one pager. And so I think through some of this, it's like, what can you keep that's the same? So not much has to change for your agents. But then also at the same time, you do have to adapt and pivot, right, to the new landscape. And so I think, you know, it's going to be interesting on my team. I'm going to be able to find out who, pretty quickly who's been doing their consultations the right way and who hasn't been.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you bring it up because I pulled up, I know this was Ask Me Anything today, but I pulled up the differentiation, the differentiated value wheel that you guys created years ago. Um, and I think when you're talking about these, whether they're single property, non-exclusives, it's going to come down to your skill set and your skill set and how you speak to someone, but also your skill set of how you can show that you're the right person to help them accomplish their goal. And what are you different on? Not to go out there and say, all of these other agents are terrible, right? During that time, like you should not work with anyone else. They suck, right? All this, they don't do this, but it's the skill set of how are you speaking to them? Are you coming across as knowing the market? Can you bring solutions to them? AKA find them homes, not just the ones on the MLS, but off the MLS. And then the skill set of building relationship with them,
Right.
right? Like this is still going to be a relationship game. The only
Mhm.
thing that really changes is that it's, hey, John, before we go out and take a look at this property, we're just going to need to have this one document signed. It basically goes over what it means for me to show you this property today. Doesn't mean that you're tied to me in any single way. But I have to have this signed in order to be compliant with the new rules of what's happening in the industry. Once that's signed and I have seller confirmation, we'll be good to go. And I think the other part of that is you better act as if. This is
Mm.
one of the things that you guys taught me and Ryan taught me early on, especially when we increased our transaction fee over the years, is you'd be surprised at how little your clients bat an eye at things when you just act in confidence as this is the way that we do things. And I think
Yeah.
so many times agents are scared to do that because this is their only client in the moment, right? This is their
Mhm.
one shot, their one opportunity right now because they don't have a database full of potential buyers and or sellers. They haven't been prospecting consistently, right? They don't have a top 50 list with 45 people on it. They don't have an SOI list of 100 to 200 people on it. And so when they get this one client that shows a little bit of interest of potentially working with you, all standards go out the window of
Yeah.
how you grow business. And so I think there's just a couple things. It's going to be a skill set game. Those that have it will be all right. Those that practice it and get better at it and improve on them will be just fine. And then you better act confidently in what you're, going to be bringing to the table in that conversation.
Yeah. I think skill as well as being able to generate more opportunities. I
Yeah.
think to your point, it's oh I've got one, I got to reel it in because I don't have anything else going. And I think too, once kind of learning of how to be able to go and if you don't develop the skill set of how to get paid, you're going to be working for whatever is there.
Yep.
If the seller's going to pay anything. I think one of the things, and I don't have any basis on it other than how sellers are willing to position and what monies they're able to offer. What I think we could see, and like I said, there's no rhyme or reason to base this, um, is that I think good listing agents will say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you don't want to completely cut off the other agents in the marketplace or cut off all of the agents in the marketplace because some of them will be skilled enough of how to articulate their value, how we get paid, and make sure that they have a process to get paid, even if the seller doesn't, offer any type of compensation. There'll be a small percentage that they're not going to worry, even if a seller doesn't, they'll still get paid. But there are going to be a handful of agents that are just at the mercy of whatever the seller is offering. And so I think as a you know as a listing agent, you would want to say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, there's we want to create the most amount of demand, right? Supply and demand. And we know that there's in-town buyers, out-of-town buyers, and buyers working with other agents. So could do, we got to have our online strategy, we got to have our event open house strategy, and we need to have marketing to other agent strategy. We don't want to completely cut that leg off because we're not getting your property to all the buyers in the marketplace. And so what I do think will happen though is that, you look at a property that might be $15,000-$20,000 commission on a percentage basis to 2.5-3%. I think what we could see is sellers saying, hey, let's just offer a flat fee, 10,000,
Yep.
right? Let's just offer a flat amount.
Yep.
And it's going to save the seller's money, but there's still money hanging out there. And I think what a lot of buyers agents will do is that even if they just say, it would normally be a 15,000 commission, they offer 5,000. You're still going to have buyers agents that are going to just be like 5,000, yeah, whatever, right? But where we become fearful is if we don't have enough opportunities.
Yeah.
And so I think, one, being able to have the skill set of value, being able to articulate your value, a value proposition is absolutely critical. Yes, I agree. However, I think, what comes first, right? The chicken or the egg. And so it's the whole thing is that you better know how to create more opportunities. And that's why I added another book. I don't know if you saw my story from yesterday, but I added another book to the 2024 kind of where you need to be going deep on equation. And that's Gary Vee's new book. But I think if, having Gary Vee's new book, having Hermosi's $100 million leads, to me, that those things need to be going with you everywhere, right? Those need to be the things you're always cracking open, you're always looking into, you're always listening, because traffic, it's, I mean, the best marketer wins, man. The
Yeah.
best marketer wins, not the best real estate agent.
Well, I think there's a couple of things within that too, right? I think you have to understand, as a real estate agent, you also have a reputation amongst your peers. I have this conversation with a lot of people, especially a lot of real estate agents. And, some people will be like, well, it's our fiduciary, right? Well, it's only becomes your fiduciary when they're your actual client after they sign the paperwork, right? Before that moment of time, you get to conduct your business and make the rules of your business however you want. And so like some agents are asking me, well, John, what would you do? Right? Would you take a listing if no compensation is offered to the buy side? I cut my teeth with buyers. And I can tell you that every single agent, doesn't matter the marketplace, knows which agents that they don't like based off of compensation strategy. Right? And if you think that we have agents in our marketplace that do a bad job now with the compensation structure that we were working with, just wait until you start cutting pay. And then they don't communicate, and then they don't care, and then they don't get things back in a timely manner. And then agents are walking all over them and walking all over the deal.
Great point.
And so for me, I have, I tell agents that ask me, I have a reputation amongst my peers. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to allow one seller to tarnish that reputation. Now, if I can't be skilled enough and be able to articulate why it's in their best interest to compensate a buy-side agent. When we have, in my market, we have a ton of data. D.R. Horton, the largest builder in the country, rolls out buyer agent incentive programs all the time on properties that they want to move. They do a $5,000 bonus, $10,000 bonus. And guess what? Agents find buyers for those properties a lot faster than when they didn't have those bonuses, right? And so for me, here's how I conduct business, right? And here's why. Compensation it's not an expense to the seller. We need to get them to the point of changing their mind. This is a strategy in order to bring you the best offer.
Yep.
Right. And so I start there. At the end of the day, you as an agent, you get to make the decision of how you want your reputation to be amongst your peers based off of the product you are putting out to the marketplace.
Right.
And so let's have that conversation. Right.
Go ahead. Finish that thought.
I also believe that in any given marketplace, your top 5% of agents are probably going to dictate whether or not there's changes happening on compensation. And I'm probably throwing out 5%. My market, we got, 8,000 agents at this point. Let's just call it, for my market, the top 500 agents that are doing the most business. I think they will dictate whether or not there's this massive change that may happen.
Do you think, as to your point right there, that I was when you were talking about the reputation, and if the compensation's not there, you're going to end up doing all of that work, which you and I've talked about. I believe, as a true expert advisor, that you have to lead the whole transaction. You have to lead the other agent. You have to lead, even if you're the listing, right? You got to lead the other agent. You got to lead their lender. You got to lead everybody. And that's getting a bite of that transaction. But to your point, what just made me kind of think about, and I heard a dominant listing agent that has massive market share in a small market, said that what he may do, though, is that he may put a co-broke in there at a smaller amount, depending upon who the agent that comes to the table with the buyer. Because if he knows it's a newer agent or an agent that doesn't sell very much, that he knows that he's going to have to, him and his team are going to have to do a bulk of even the buy side of the transaction. They're going to have to do so much of the transaction. They're going to have to work even harder, that he might as well get compensated instead of giving all of that away. Now, but he did say, but if it's a great agent that has great reputation, that does a lot of business, that has a great team, great experience. They bring great buyers. He goes, I'm going to pay him the most amount that my seller's willing to pay him. I'm going to pay him more. And so it goes back into, you look at within this industry, which is a little head scratcher for at most times in the past. I mean, look at somebody with your tenure and your experience and the number of transactions under your belt. You're going to get paid the same exact thing as an agent that just came into the business. My 19, 20-year-old daughter that just got licensed. Do you think that's the fair compensation, that she gets the same paycheck as you?
Well, I think that's going to solve some problems in the market moving forward. No one should be able to complain about their compensation, because they're going to be the ones in control of it on the buy side and on the listing side. Even if a seller compensates less than what you have in your buyer agreement, you know what you're getting paid, right? It's just whether or not you're going to have the upfront conversation with your client on what that compensation looks like, which is where a lot of agents get caught, right? Yeah. Which then is, well, I'll just accept whatever the seller's willing to give, right? But if you sit down, have those upfront conversations and say, my compensation is X, and the seller or the listing brokerage is offering less than X, well, you know what you're getting paid. Your seller has already agreed to it, and they give you the options of how to handle it within the offer, right? Hey, I can negotiate this and make this a term of your offer. Hey, we can pay this at time of closing, but it's going to be a buyer closing cost. How would you like to handle it?
Yeah. Yeah. That's where the skill set's going to come in.
This is what I also tell people, agents. You know what COVID also taught us about buyers? Is that there's money, and that they have it, and that they're willing to get it as long as they see the value in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah. So it goes back to the value and being able to articulate your value with that client, right? Being able to do that. If they're wanting consistency, they're wanting some type of presentation, they're wanting something, whatever that is, right? That's why, if you don't have something, grab a hold of CHBA, right? Be able to act, have that, to be able to walk through, and you got to have some type of process. But to me, it's just the only way that I know to be the right way, John, is a consultative approach. What are you trying to do? Like, what's your goal, man? Like, even from a buyer perspective, it's like, what are you trying to do? And I had a conversation with an agent just a little bit ago, and they were like, yeah, I'm helping one of my agents out with the client that doesn't like the area. And I'm like, oh, in less than a year. And I'm like, okay, they probably didn't do a consultative approach, didn't get real clear on future home ownership, didn't get clear on, needs and wants analysis, didn't get clear on lifestyle, didn't get clear on a lot of those things, because then you can just kind of point out the pros and cons of, well, if you do get into this, move into this, then this is what this means, right? It's the whole ripple effect of the decision. It's like, okay, it's just like with Leanne right now. It's like, sell. Okay, well, when you sell, what's the ripple effect, right? What happens, after that? So it's just things to take into consideration. But I think that's where the separation we'll have in the industry is those that are truly professionals, that are truly, coming from a place of I'm making sure that you're getting the result you want, and making you problem aware. I think that's the other thing, man, is like a lot of buyers and sellers, sometimes they're just not problem aware, and a great agent is going to help them become problem aware. And then but falls back to the consultative approach.
Yeah. And I think too, right, it's like, how do you explain to a potential buyer client some of the things that you're going to bring to the table based off of your experience, right? The difference between a new agent versus an agent that's been licensed 10, 15, 20 years, that's, been a part of hundreds, if not thousands of transactions. It's like, if we all know that the number one reason why deals fall through are inspections, why are we not taking proactive measures during the process of showing homes or pre-listings, right? Walking through and having conversations around things that will kill deals, right? Like, on a buyer, it's not just open the door and let them walk through the house and look at all of the, the nice and updated things. It's like, hey, just so these windows are old. Hey, the roof looks brand new. Hey, right, X, Y, and Z, you name it. Now there's gonna be things as agents we don't see, right? Electrical, get up in the attic, open up the electrical panel, some plumbing leaks under sink. So there's gonna be things that we don't see.
Right.
But I think the majority of the reasons why deals fall through during inspection period is because just lack of expectations of what an inspection is actually there to do, right? And what, the process of buying the home, for a buyer means. In our market, radon gas. It's easy to spot if they've done it or not, right? And I can tell you that every house in Ohio has some sort of radon gas in it. It's just where we live. And so if we're not having those conversations with our clients, in every single house that we walk in every basement of, hey, this already got checked. Here's the meter reading. Hey, EPA level recommended is this and under, right? And so then the next one, when you go and there's not one, hey guys, just so you know, this doesn't have one. It's probably going to come up because it's common in Ohio. It's going to cost you somewhere between $1,000 to $1,500, right? And so you need to be having these conversations, and I think that's the separator. But how do you explain that and articulate that to the buyer and their in their best interest and needs? I'm going to save you on time. I'm going to save you money, right? Because if this is a concern for you because of health concerns or whatever, well then we're just going to do upfront legwork and only call the listing agent ahead of time and say, hey, has radon already been inspected for, and is there a system?
Yeah.
No. Okay, great. Maybe we don't go and see that one, right? So I think you sitting down. There's a word I use to get everyone to sit down with me as a buyer. Hey, John, I like to educate all of my clients on the current real estate market because I believe the market changes every day, right? Rates change the market. Outside factors change the market, inflation, consumer confidence, all of those things, those change daily, in my opinion. I like to get them educated on today's current market. I like to get them educated on the home buying process, and I like to educate them on all of the program services and guarantees that they're going to get, while working with me. When's a good time for us to meet? If a client says no to those three things, then you probably don't have a serious buyer.
That's right. That's a great point.
That's
right.
a filter.
It's you filtering out the time wasters, the tire kickers versus who's like serious. And I really believe in today's market. And this is what you and I've been talking about it for over a year, man. It's the want tos, it's the have tos versus the want tos. Like you need to find the have tos. And even though they want to, but having a filtering process to filter them out, right? Because if they're like, yeah, I don't want to do that, then they're not really that serious, or their motivation has not gotten to the level that's maybe not completely worth your time.
But I used a key word there, educate. Mm-hmm. I didn't say I like to sit down and go over all of those things. I like to sit down and I like to educate them on today's real estate market. Guess what? If rates drop tomorrow or go up tomorrow, that changes what you can and can't do within real estate, right? And if that trend happens over 1 week, 2 weeks, guess what? That will have a big influence in what you can and can't do. So let's sit down. I want to educate you on today's market, right? What are we facing? Are we facing, in the areas that you're looking, 10 offers, or are we facing 1 offer? I just had a story. It's not an agent on my team. They went $200,000 over list price on a piece of land. Now we can talk about the listing agent's probably not the right agent for this. $200,000 on acreage.
Yeehaw.
And still didn't get it. So you can talk about how the listing agent probably shouldn't have taken that listing and underpriced it terribly wrong.
Ooh.
Right. But as a buyer, and knowing, right, I bet there's agents that probably submitted an offer 25, 30 grand above, and they thought it was a solid offer.
Right.
I mean, they weren't even close. So you have to understand the market. You have to be able to, when you sit down with them, you have to understand based off of the areas that they're looking, the number of bedrooms they want, right? The features that they're looking for, the schools or whatever. Hey guys, typically we're probably going to see on average every offer we're going to be competing against 7 to 8 other offers. Here are what wins. Here are the winning terms in this area. Are you willing to do those things, and will you compete? Because if that answer is no, then my job as your expert advisor is to tell you maybe we wait 6 months, maybe we wait 12 months, maybe you need to save up more money to be able to come back next year and compete, right? Or are you open to other areas?
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to deliver the bad news. We can't help everyone.
That's right. But it's telling them, go back to your point, right? Exactly. Tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And being able to give that, difficult, that's kind of that law of expertise, man, the difficult conversation, being able to talk about that. There's a lot here. And one of the feedback that you gave at Kitchen Table to Durbin was, and we were talking about the pre-call video, and the pre-appointment video. I really think there's some education, like you were talking about, but creating some mini little trainings, mini little webinar type of scenario. So like you said, you say, hey, I would love to, sit down and educate. Great. So let's get together tomorrow at 6:00 here at the office. Before then, can you make me get them to watch something to where you walk them through kind of the process, right? Already what you're going to do when you meet with them face to face. That way, they hear it again. They have the video, they hear it. Then when you get face to face, you're doing it. You hear it again. Create some consistencies, but also differentiation. But also, to your point, being able to educate them throughout the process, man. I really think that's the direction and the way to go. As we know, video, everything is the way to go, but being able to create that is man, absolutely key.
So it's like, well, how do you get them to watch a video? And I was literally just thinking this as you were, saying it, and I think the key will be like, especially if you're doing outbound internet leads, right? Zillows, Realtor.coms, traditional Google AdWords, you're meeting them for the first time, right? You show them that house because that's the thing that gets you face to face. I think that's when you ask, like, hey, let's sit down, let's get educated. It seems like you're pretty serious if you have me, it seems like you're pretty serious if you have me out here showing you homes, John. What I like to do with all of my clients is get them educated on today's market, the home buying process and some of the programs and services that you would get as a client of mine. When's a good time to meet, right? And so I used a key word. It seems like, if you have me out here showing you a home, it seems like you're pretty motivated. It seems like you're pretty serious. It's like I'm asking them a question, right? They should tell me yes or no based on how they respond to that, right? And so let's just say they say yes, and we set the appointment. Hey, John, would you like to take an hour and a half at our appointment when we meet face to face, or would you like to be done in and out in 45 minutes? I'd like to be in and out in 45 minutes. Okay, great. Hey, I'm going to send you this video. It's about 15 to 20 minutes in length. It's going to go over a lot of the things, about the home buying process and what we're seeing right now. If you could just promise me to watch that before we meet on Thursday, and I will answer any questions you have, and I will complete the rest of our consultation, and we'll go from there. Right? You could easily spin it that way, because what do people, what just went in their mind? Well, shit, I don't want to sit there for an hour and a half. That seems brutal. Let me watch this 15-minute video.
And I think the other thing too that you could do there as you were going through it, you could say, if you go through and watch it, there's a little message at the end. But if you go through and watch it, I'll be able to cut our administrative fee in half for you, right?
Yeah.
So like if you normally charge $495, now charge at $995, but if you watch the video, I'll cut it in half for you, right? So like you can start bribing them a little bit to get them to watch it. You can do that on the listing side. Hey, before I come out, got a kind of a video of articulating of how we work, and I would put in there, teeing up, hey, the's a lot of changes kind of going on. You might hear in the industry, and we'll talk more about it when we get together, but this is kind of what's going on. And here's why you don't want to cut yourself too short, because of being able to have it. So you can have that education, and you can do the same thing there, right? Like, hey, I'll send this video out, give you a little more information about us and how we operate and what we do. All I ask is that you watch it, and there's a little message there at the end. But if you do watch it, I'll be able to, if we decide to move forward, I'll be able to cut our administrative fee in half for you for watching the video.
Yeah. I pulled this up today because I was going to ask you a question, but I don't know if you remember the trust-based marketing
Yes.
training you guys did.
Uh-huh.
And so if the consumer, because they may not be your client yet, believes that you're the expert advisor and trusts you, then they will watch that video.
1,000%.
Right? They will come to the meeting prepared.
1,000%.
And so I pulled up, where does trust come from? There's 10 things that you guys had listed out, right? And I think about this stuff quite a bit. Authority, right? Yeah. So that's your doctor, lawyer, accountant, police officer, you name it. Affinity, shared background, experience, right? All of those things. Yep. That's why we always say, go and, prospect on things that you enjoy doing, right? Go join activities and communities around, if you like golf, start golfing, right? If you like, if you got kids or whatever, right? Go do kid stuff. Credibility, longevity, years in the business, celebrity, being known, familiarity, omnipresence. I talked about that today on my Clubhouse call. If you really want to get the attention of buyers and or sellers, they got to see you everywhere.
Everywhere.
Not just in their email, not just on their text message, not just in their voicemail, not just on their phone you calling, right? But they got to see you everywhere. Frequency, how often, right? This is the prospecting. How often are you heard, seen, and can be easily trusted? Second party transferal. This is your referrals, right? Geographic or target marketing. So this is, your ideal client. How are you marketing to your ideal client? And then demonstration, seeing is believing. Demonstration, I think, that could also be, how do you dress, right?
Yeah.
The car you drive, unfortunately, right? I didn't drive always the nicest car. To me, if someone wanted to work with me based off of what I drove, they probably weren't going to be my client anyways, probably because we didn't share affinity, right? Maybe the same background, right? But it does matter. Like right now, I rock polos and jeans and button downs and jeans. I don't wear suits. I don't wear dress pants. I don't wear ties.
Right.
But I think some agents have to do that in the beginning. I think some agents have to do that overall, depending on, the price point you want to do, the market that you're in, what are the standards for your industry and your market. But when you think about those 10 things and what we're talking about, that's how you build trust. Now,
right.
How do you do all of that? How do you do all of that in a showing or a presentation? That's going to be the key. And so, are you walking in with, testimonials to hand out to buyers? Are you walking in if you were in a magazine and you had an article written about you? Are you talking about, the power of how long you've been in the business and the team or the brokerage that you're at? Right? All of that stuff matters. Authority is simply by you just knowing your stuff and demanding that you meet at the office.
Yeah.
You can create authority that way. So I think about those things a lot when, it comes to, well, how do you get, are you worried about these agreements having to go out? I'm not worried. It's just going to take another level of skill that you're going to have to have, right? Yeah. Confidence in yourself. And confidence in abundance as well, right? If it's not this one, there's going to be another one, right? There's always going to be more opportunities as long as you do what you're supposed to be doing.
1,000%. Dude, I agree so much. And that's why, I'm going to keep coming back, man. It's not the best real estate agent that wins. It's the best marketer. And those things right there that you listed out to to create that level of trust. It could all be done through marketing. It could all be done through educational pieces, content, your bio, certifications, YouTube channel, all the things like that you could be putting out there that people are going to consume prior to wanting to meet with you. And the reality is that, are you creating content for what the buyer wants? And we know from NAR, from, 23 buyer and seller guide, that buyers, they want to see properties. They want to see photos. They want to see video tours. They want detailed descriptions of those properties. They want floor plans. They want, Matterport 3D tour. That's what they want. That's what they're searching for. And, they're looking at the area. They're searching. Are they finding you? Are they finding, the content that you're putting out that's educating them on the area, that's educating them on the product that's out there, right? Like, think about it. Somebody from Oklahoma and Texas that's looking to move out towards the Midwest, out towards your area, we ain't got no basements where I come from. We ain't got all the things that come with having basements and what that means. Like creating educational pieces and things like product. This is product on the ground. Like if I'm searching, I see a bunch of properties with basements. I'm like, basements, shit. Okay, what do I need to know about homes with basements?
Yeah.
And being able to create that. That's just an example, but you got to think of positioning yourself and giving them what they want that builds trust. Everything that you just ran through there.
Yeah. And so it's key, right? It's important. You guys don't have a choice anymore.
No.
I think I also like that. But I also believe, right, everything's going to fall on its place. You're going to have your people that, right, will do it for this amount, right, over here. And you're going to have people who do it for this amount over here, right? And then you're going to have some people that just ride the wave, And so the other part of this whole conversation that I think our industry does a terrible job at is we always judge each other, right? Just worry about yourself. Worry about how you want to handle it. Worry about what you're doing. You'll be fine if you just worry about that. I can't worry about the brokers that want to come in or the agents that want to come in and list it for a flat fee. That's outside of my control. You guys talk about outside threats. Some of those things are outside of my control, right? I got to do and focus on what's within my control.
That's it. 1,000%. Love it, man. Well, I know, it's kind of what we've been talking about, right? It's separation season. Being able to focus on your marketing, your brand, being able to create a reputation of trust, leveraging, the power of video, leveraging, the ways to educate, create interest. What are the buyers and sellers? What are they interested in when they're selling and buying? And really honing your content around that to be able to, help you create that authority that you were talking about. And that's, all trust-based marketing, just building a reputation that you can get the results that they're looking for. Because remember, and I think this is super, super important, is that people only buy results. And so they're searching for a result, and, do they trust you to help them, make that, to get the result that they want?
Yeah, 100%.
Sweet. Awesome, brother. Well, I appreciate you jumping in. You guys, if you're struggling with any of this, you want to have a conversation, 7figurecall.com, book a call. We'll jump on with you, talk you through, help you get stuck, point you in the right direction, give you the additional resources that you may need to be able to navigate, moving into the future.
Jump on a call with us. It's so important. You still have a couple months to get this dialed in. And, at the end of the day, right, build your confidence with it. That's what you need most.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. All right, brother. Appreciate you.
All right. See you.
Sweet. See you guys.